Two items for the show and tell. The award. All right, everyone. I think we're ready to go. It's about time to get started. Nice to see everybody. I don't know about you all, but the daylight savings caught me by surprise. It's kind of interesting to be 7 o'clock and being bright outside. I sometimes help on setting up chairs Sunday mornings for my church, and I set my alarm what I thought was the right time, and when I got up to go, I was an hour late. So I had to email them and apologize for missing out. So I'm Calvin. I'm currently serving on the board. Just welcome to everybody. We want to welcome you all that are online, if you're on YouTube or Facebook. So good to see everybody. Looking down the agenda, usually we do our business meeting first, then we do show and tell, we'll have a break, and have our program tonight. So I'm just going to head down. You guys know I like to run through these agendas pretty fast, so stop me if I miss something. First thing, we wanted, it seems like this is happening just about every meeting, but in memory for Sean McMahon of the Turners. Lost another friend of the guild. I know he spent a lot of time with Mike McCauley, and he was one of the biggest supporters of us doing the Santa's Workshop. So wanted to recognize him, and our condolences to him and his family, and to the Turners, and to all of the friends. Now, going through the agenda, we like to have all of the officers have report. I have one item that's somewhat is going to be it's going to be a big deal for the guild. So we are going to move at some point. So nothing to alarm. We just wanted to let the guild know that the tenants over here, which are a lot bigger than us, are going to expand, and we're going to be asked to move. Now, our lease goes through a year from May 31st, so we've got a little bit of time, but we may start to enact some things quicker. We've got some things that we're already researching, so just didn't want to surprise. We just want to be honest with everybody, and I think if those of you that are have been around since the last time we moved, think of how much better everything got. So there's lots of steps between that, and you know what? There was a lot of hard work from moving as well. So, I wouldn't say that everything will be easy, but we'll do our best to communicate with the members, and we will obviously do our best to make this a really good thing for the guild. Mike, do you have anything to announce tonight? Nothing from Mike. David Roth is not here tonight. Craig, do you have anything? Come on up. I assume that was on.
Pretty. I like this pink one. That's
you
cute.
get the pink one.
All right. Next month we are having our annual elections. For the board of directors, we'll be reappointing a secretary and a treasurer. And if you're interested in either of those board positions, I think Gary, he doesn't realize that, but he's treasurer for life. And David Roth is a current secretary. He's fulfilling the balance of the term from Mike, who left secretary to become vice president of our guild. Also on the leadership committee, our assets director, and Chuck, he's going to stay around, right? He's got some stuff to do. Okay. Also, events, programs, and sponsorship. Those are the 4 leadership committee positions that will be open for election. And we're hopeful that our current occupants of those will stay. I'm getting a thumbs up over here from Chris. But if you are interested in working, you can even be an assistant to one of these. They would certainly appreciate having some help, and that maybe in 2 years when the term is over that we're voting on next month, that you'd be willing to take over as the leader in that committee. So if you have any interest, please contact me here at the meeting, or you can send me an email, member@large@kcwg.org. Well, or org will work too. Yeah, either one. So thank you.
Thanks, Craig. Yeah, step up if you want to come for any of those positions. Sometimes getting people to vote for those positions is sometimes the most difficult thing, but very thankful for all the current board members and leadership committee, and any of the new candidates that might appear. Gary, financial update. Do you have anything to announce tonight? Gary, I know Gary is around. Gary, anything to announce from your point of view? Gary says he's good. We are continuing to pay our bills, which is always a good thing, and thanks to all of you who renewed. You know what? I didn't welcome any visitors tonight. Do we have any first-time visitors here tonight? All right, there's a applause. Yeah, great to have you. Or any of you new members? Anyone doing their first membership tonight? Awesome, congrats. Thanks for joining. Looking forward to seeing you around the shop, all of you guys, because you all going to join too. I understand. That's the way it goes. Chuck, you got anything to sell back there?
Why, yes, I do.
Yes, he does. Looks like you got some wood. 1/8-inch Baltic birch plywood. Do you have any 16th inch? Because I like that stuff.
Yeah, but they're stuck together.
Can you resaw those for me? Go back and see Chuck. Looks like you got some other stuff there. Looks some lumber.
Ready for epoxy filling.
All right. So some nice character slabs. Very good. Very good. So go back and see Chuck to see what he's got. Brian, Communications Committee, anything? And is Ron? I didn't see Ron. I didn't get a chance to see. Great job on the newsletter again by Ron. Newsletter, I think, came out this morning. So thanks to all of you who contributed to that. Thanks to Ron for just putting in the yeoman's work like he always does. He does a great job. If any of you have something you're working on or are thinking about, or you think you could share, or a special project, maybe write your thoughts down, take some pictures, and send an article in. I think we would love to see that. We would love to have content like that. Always looking for good stuff. Come, all of you. Don, looks like you have, believe it or not, you have books and magazines for sale.
Magazines are in the library, books are on this table. $1 per book, magazines are $1 or $5 for a book.
So if you didn't hear that, $1 for a book. That's a great deal. Lots of good stuff in the books. I haven't perused the collection yet. Magazines, $1 or $5 for $1. I think I've told you all before. I went through a pretty major book collecting phase and fine woodworking collecting phase about 20 years ago now, but I put a lot of effort and energy and money into finding all those, and now they're giving them away.
Same books.
You're exactly right, and the content is still really good, because woodworking hasn't, unless you're doing CNC routing or laser, the work that I like to do hasn't really changed that much in the last 20 years, 30 years, 200 years. So we also want to remind everyone we have a Facebook page, and then we have a Facebook group. There's usually some good discussion going on in our Facebook groups. So check that out, and if there's questions, answer it. So we interact with the community, and sometimes there's some really good discussions like, hey, where do I find lumber? And everyone has their answer, which is always a fun discussion. And we also have an Instagram page and a Twitter account. So if you got your work out there and you have a Instagram page, tag the guild, at the guild, hashtag. Nice to see what everybody's working on. I do that from time to time. And then YouTube, we have our YouTube channel. So if you haven't, go out there and subscribe and watch some of the videos and podcasts, and make sure you're liking those. We want to see where we get the traffic. A lot of good videos. I don't think I've watched them all, but I've watched quite a few of them.
Cal?
Yes.
So on the YouTube, I had some questions and comments. Starting to live stream our skill builders or live streaming our meetings, obviously. When you look under the videos, there's a section called videos, and then there's another tab called live. And that's all of our past live streams. And you can go back and view all of our past meetings. I believe we currently have all the way back to mid-2020 on there. So the last almost 3 years.
That's great. I think there's been several of the skill builders I haven't made, so I need to go back and watch those. So see Wayne in action, and other people. Kevin, do you want to come talk about the podcast and maybe training? Don't groan. Don't look so excited to come up here.
Everybody should be excited to come up here. As far as the podcast goes, our latest episode is just me and Dave Kretz talking about teaching and his desires on how to teach. We'll be recording another one here sometime before the end of the month. Training, I believe yesterday was Craig Arnold's latest finishing class went live. I got a notice about it anyway. For those wanting to know about when the next basic woodworking class will be posted, it will be posted April 4th at 7 p.m. And we're going to look at making some changes in the frequency of that one next year. We're going to stick with the old format for the rest of this year, and then next year we're going to add another episode or whatever you want to call it of the basic. And that's about it for right now. Skill builder, I'm still trying to nail that down for April. Yeah.
All right. Well, if you all, someone's got a skill that you want to share, something you've been working on, whether you're an expert or you're not an expert. Not, a lot of us are not experts in everything, but if you think you can offer something to the guild, get with Kevin and do the skill builder. I love the skill builders, and those of you that don't know, what we try to do at the guild is every first Saturday of the month, we have a free program done by someone who is just showing a skill or a specialty or some type of interesting topic, and it's open to everyone, whether you're a guild member and whether you're safety trained, not safety trained, to the public, to family members. It's wide open for anybody who wants to come. I'm not sure where I need to stand to get rid of that buzz. Chris, anything you want to talk about for events and AV?
Yes, for events, there was some interest in the woodworking show. Seems to be that that kind of fell through on their end, that it's not coming to Kansas City. However, I was recently contacted by L&K A lot of people have been out there before. We've done the mill and grills out there, and they want to do another mill and grill. So we're scheduled for April 22nd, so it's Saturday after next meeting, out at L&K. I'll get some more times and everything posted up and send out a sign up for that. It's coming up very soon. I'm also working on some things coming up at the end of the summer. So
Yeah, and I know they confirmed that Handworks is being held again this year. So
yep, so we're planning. We're going to try and put together a package deal for Handworks, a group rate for a hotel. I'm looking at different options, either just doing a 1 day up and back, or doing a spend the night there and some other excursions along the way. But once I get that nailed down, that information will be coming out.
all right, that's good. That's one of my favorite woodworking sort of events I've ever been to. Handworks up in Amana, Iowa. It was a great weekend. Membership, Jim, update.
Everybody that is a member and is here tonight are members. And they are one of the 856.
856. So we've gone through all of our renewals. Renewals are over, and now we're all new. We're all the sort of a fresh new roster. So little every year we gain some, we lose some. We're at 856. We've been trending up just a little bit over the last few years. So we appreciate all of you being members. That's how we're able to do what we can do. Programs, Matt, do you want to talk for a bit?
Tonight will be a relatively short program on fire safety in the shop. And then next month, I can't remember the guy's name.
Tom McLaughlin.
There you go. And I don't even know exactly what it does, and I'm embarrassed about that.
So Tom is he's a woodworking, relatively famous woodworking. He has a website, Epic Woodworking, and he kind of took over what is the name of his TV show? Classic Woodworking. It used to be, yeah. If you all remember the Rough Cut with Tommy Mack, he sort of took that over and then changed the name. But he's from New Hampshire, I believe. I've interacted with him a few times over the years, but he's a relatively well-known woodworking celebrity, and he actually reached out to us last year and said he and his wife were going to be touring and wanted to see if he could come visit the guild. So we talked to him about presenting. So next week is going to be a great program.
In April, right? Next month.
Next month. Sorry, we're not going to be.
Yeah. So that's really super. And then I'm working on a few others. The mandolin guy, he still isn't quite ready. He only lives like a couple blocks over here on top of the hill, but he just isn't quite ready to put together a program for us. But I also attend the wood turners meetings, and there's a guy there who's for 40-something years he was a taxidermist. And Dan, you may know him, or at least of his work. He uses certain kinds of epoxies that, generally speaking, most of us normal woodworkers don't use. But people like Dan Rubidoux and using for wildlife-oriented wood carving and for taxidermy, he's agreed to give us a program on how to use those epoxies. They're really pretty neat. And I had one more that I was looking at. Getting too old to remember everything, and I forget to write it down too. But at any rate, that's what we got going right now. I could always I get suggestions, and sometimes I always check out the suggestions, and unfortunately, once in a while, they just say, no, they don't really want to give a program. So just keep throwing suggestions at me, and I'll keep looking at it. Or the other option is my position is open. I could I could screw it up badly enough that somebody will say, then the loudest complainer wins the job. Yeah. And I do have a couple of boards from Metro Hardwood. I went there and asked for a gift certificate for the show and tell. He said, how about if I give you a couple of boards? One's Yellow Heart, I think it is, and the yellow one is some strange name. But I'll let you know. Anyway, that's the gift for whoever gets the ticket drawn for the show and tell tonight.
Thank you, Matt. The safety, Steve wants to say that the next safety orientation is April 15th. And, of course, we'll have a safety discussion for our program tonight. Mike, anything to discuss for Rough to Ready? There's a lot of groaning for people that get up and come.
I've actually been approached recently, and they said, well, what does your Rough to Ready do? So if you're not familiar with it, or you've been away from the shop for a while, you're one-on-one or two-on-one with an instructor. We go around to each piece of equipment. You learn the safety, you learn how to use the equipment, what it's there for, the safety features of each piece of equipment. If you do not have your green tag yet, it's a good way to get your green tag. Now, it does cost, but when you compare to what you get, when we start off, you start off with a board rough, about 2 inches thick, straight out of the sawmill. When you walk out with a completed box, ready to do a final sanding and put some finish on. And enough wood to do a second box.
What's the fee for the Rough to Ready?
It's $50 for sawdust maker, $40 if you're Woodworker Plus or benefactor. And we usually do, well, we did 30 some odd in the first 2 months, and we're going to come close to 30 in March and April. So they do fill up fairly quickly.
How many hours of instruction would you say you get for $50?
Well, typically it's 5 to 6, one-on-one.
Pretty good deal.
Sometimes a little longer, sometimes a little shorter. Depends if you have 1 or 2 students, and depends if they know how to measure. You'd be amazed how many people walk in and have no idea how to measure. And I'm going to throw out the number one question that I ask anytime we start one of these classes. On the resaw machine, you have to add 1/8 of an inch to any piece that you're cutting because there's a little bit of wobble. So if you're cutting a 1/4 inch piece, what size do you want to cut it? Half, no. All right,
16.
he just failed.
16.
But you'd be amazed how many people have no idea how to add a fraction. By the way, the correct answer is 3/8. But, yeah, thank you.
We love everyone, even if they don't know how to add or measure. So that's why you get great instruction like that. We all learn things. I will tell you what, I grew up working in my dad's shop. He would be working out like, legs and tendons. He'd say 21 minus a half plus a half plus 2 3/8, 2 3/8. We'll cut it 24 and a half. And I'm like, how did he do that so fast? And to this day, I will work all those out and write them down, and I will add them up and add them back. I still mess it up sometimes. So, but usually it works. Dwayne, I haven't seen. Oh, Dwayne is back there. We've got a great raffle. What do you got to talk to us about tonight, Dwayne?
Am I hot? Yep. Okay.
Well, no, your mic is working.
I thought it was just darn good looking. No. I got a couple things here on the raffle table that I don't know where they came from. The latches and the templates again for bread or for a breadboard type thing. But I'd like to recognize anybody that donates something. And if you don't want to be recognized, that's fine too. That doesn't bother me. But I would like to recognize people that bring things in for the raffle table. The money goes to the club, or the guild, so it's not that big of a deal. Too low? Too high? I have a helper that's trying to teach me how to use stuff. That's all. I mean, if you know who donated any of those, and I'd be happy to recognize them. The other one, remember, Amazon Smile doesn't exist anymore. So if you didn't use it, you don't have it anymore. So I think that's everything I've got, Ken.
And just remember, with your guild membership, those of you that might be on the fence, you go to Woodcraft or Metro Hardwoods 1 or 2 times, you probably pay for your membership. So, That's one of the great benefits. We get discounts, 10%, 15%, depending on what our sponsors are. So we have some great sponsors. It's really nice. Nice. I always appreciate that when I buy something. I pull the card out and knocks the tax and more off, which is nice, or at least pays for the tax. Let's see. We've made it through most of the agenda. Now we've got to talk about our SIGs, which is our special interest groups. So the first one is our hand tool group that meets the fourth Sunday of the month from 2 to 4. I haven't seen Rob. Does anyone here representing the hand tool group tonight? Wayne?
A week from this coming Sunday, going to do the
Gottschall block. Is that from Frank Gottschall? Is that he had a it's a hand tool type of exercise, correct? So that would be
in a little 6-inch square block.
okay. So that's going to happen at a week from Sunday, and they're going to demonstrate that a training aid called the Gottschall block, which some of you, I used to collect some of the Gottschall books because he had a lot of period furniture books and a lot of hand tool books. So wood carving, Dan, have an announcement. You can come on up. The wood carvers meet on the fourth Tuesday of the month from 6 to 8.
Yep, fourth Tuesday of the month from 6 to 8. Now, we've got a lot of skilled people here, and we emphasize 3 areas. It's pyrography, traditional carving, and power carving. We answer any
Chip.
questions. We're open on anything. If you have any questions or need some help or just want to know more. And now this is not working out. Okay, if you need just want to know more,
Just start over.
just go. Start over. Okay. The wood carving SIG meets on the fourth Tuesday of every month from 6 to 8. And in that wood carving SIG, we have 3 areas. It's pyrography, traditional carving, and power carving. We've got skilled people there in this SIG. If you've got any questions, you want to get started, you don't know how to get started, whatever it is, just bring it and talk to us. We're a bunch of guys and good guys, so we're here.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Dan. So the next SIG is a laser engraving SIG. Mike, you wear a lot of hats.
Laser engraver SIG meets the fourth Wednesday of the month. Typically, we will meet in the library unless Craig's got a class going on and takes our space. Then we meet over here by the laser engraver. I've had numerous people contact me recently about they want to get trained. Right after we finish our SIG, SIG starts at 7 o'clock. Usually we go to about 8, depending on how many questions or show and tells we have. And we will start training right after that. So if you want to get trained on how to use a laser engraver, that's the time. Now, laser engraver. Right now we're in the middle of a guild project. Anybody ever heard of turf boxes? Yeah, it's a big deal. We've been making all kinds of them. And we're down to the last few of the ones that were ordered last year. This last week I've been engraving 126 box lids. When you go get a Coke or a cookie tonight, you'll see them. Each one of those represents 10 minutes. Total that out, that's 21 hours of laser engraving. Please don't knock them over. But laser's actually a lot of fun. It's fun to do. We had a guy in here actually yesterday morning that is doing a bunch of little houses for his church, some kind of special deal they've got going on for Easter. So there's a lot of things you can do with a laser engraver. If you ask Craig, I think Craig's done quite a few things where you build them up over 3D. That's a lot of fun. So come learn about the laser engraver.
And that's the fourth Wednesday of the month at 7. Just to remind that. Next up is scroll saw. George, do you have anything to talk about? So second Wednesday of the month at 7. Come on out for scroll sawing. CNC. Ed, you want to come talk about the CNC? The third Tuesday of the month, the CNC group meets.
Yeah, we'll be meeting next Tuesday evening. We'll be meeting in the hand tool room. If anybody's interested in learning a little bit about the CNC, you can feel welcome to join us. You can bring a friend. Don't have to be a guild member. Just come on in. We'll try to twist your arm and make you a guild member, but that's all right too. There's been a lot of interest in it. The big hang-up, I think, seems to be learning the software, and we're happy to work with you on that if you've got some little hitches along the way. But most of it is videos that you watch online and stuff like that to get going. But if you're interested, we welcome you. 6:30. We usually run till about 8 or 8:30 in the evening, but we'll be meeting over in the hand tool room this week, or next Tuesday.
Thank you, Ed. And we've successfully gone through the whole agenda. So now we do what is probably a lot of our favorites is our show and tell. And I haven't seen Jim Bainey tonight. So who is he's in Australia? Who is taking the reins and going to narrate the show and tell? Lots of Tim, were you nominated? Kevin pointed at you first. I saw that. All right. Well, if you've got a show and tell piece going over, and come excited to see what you've made.
Good evening. Okay, thanks. How about that big snake? Well, I see you're wearing the green. Come on up. There's a mic.
Thank you.
Now, so why did you carve a snake?
Well, down at the University of Missouri at Rolla, they celebrate St. Patrick's Day. And 50 years ago, I carved this thing. That was the first carving I ever did.
50?
Yeah, 1973. And it's also the last carving I ever did. Yeah, there we go. But it was a challenge to find a perfectly curved limb and then mount the fangs and the tongue on there. It went on the winning cudgel. I've got a short slide program that'll show you what all that stuff is. And the first thing I did was draw a snake, which you can see on my sweatshirt. There's a snake at the top of that beer keg. And
so
then I used
green beer have something to do with this?
There was beer involved.
Oh, okay.
The least favorite part of the project was slicing off the end of this finger at 3 a.m. And the favorite part was matching the snake to the sweatshirt design, which I also won that. So could we go ahead and show the slides, please? So snakes, shillelaghs, and cudgels. A shillelagh is a little Irish walking stick. A cudgel is a giant battering ram. Next, please. This is a bunch of kids in 1985 working on a tree. And the group that I was with in the late 60s pioneered hollowing out those trees so they could make them bigger. Because the only way you could enter the contest was to carry it 10 paces, one person. So we designed a method to hollow them out by drilling, then burning them through the length of them. And I can describe that process on another day. Next, please. This is St. Pat, who comes into town on a hand cart on the railroad. They actually shut down the railroad to do that. And then they drag him through town on a manure spreader. Yes, there's beer involved. Next. So all the freshmen have to carve their own small shillelagh. That's a small one. And the St. Pat's board runs around and throws rubber snakes on the ground, and the freshmen have to kill them with their shillelagh, beat them. And then they destroy this rubber snake and then put the heads on that green snow fence you can see in the background as trophies. Next, please. This kid won the freshman shillelagh contest. See the flames coming out of it? He had pyrotechnics and all kinds of good stuff happening on his, which is the reason he won. Now that's a group with a hollowed out tree from my fraternity getting ready to put it on a one man's shoulders so he can carry it and enter it. Next, please. And there you can see some of the intricate carving on that tree. They'll spend months carving that thing. That's how they learn project management. Next, please. And there's some more photos of what they look like. It's great fun. That's how I learned carving. That's it.
Well, thank you. That's quite a story that goes with that. Well, Russ, what have you got tonight for us?
Fun and joy. Last month I had the L fence in here that I had used to make these boxes, and so I finally finished all 26 of them, and they're all ready to go, and all you got to do is lift the lid, and it lights up.
That looks solid. Yes. Well built. Now, what kind of wood is that?
It's oak, walnut, and the bottom is cherry.
And what are the splines? Walnut?
Walnut, yep.
Okay. And what did you use to finish that?
That has got the Odie's oil on it.
Of course.
I am not impressed with Odie's oil for small projects like this. The outside was fun and easy to do, but the inside was a pain in the tuchus, and mostly my knuckles. So, but other than that, the Odie's oil was fine. That's one coat of Odie's oil.
Well, it looks finished very nice. It feels smooth to touch. And I think that's part of the Odie's oil.
Right, exactly. And I used about that much of the can for all 26 of these.
So it goes a long ways.
Yeah, it goes a long way. It's expensive, but it goes a long way.
I did 3 tables with Jim Bainey tables with one can, and I still got enough maybe to do a 4th.
Okay.
So that was only outside, right? I didn't have any inside work to do, so it was easy to get to with a pad. So
yeah. Those little Brillo pads that you use to put that on, like I say, it wasn't fun to do the inside of these boxes.
Any questions for Russ?
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Russ. Well, Gary, I looked at that and I went dizzy, so I wouldn't know what I was looking at.
Yeah, I had a little fun with the laser. So I cut that out. It's 3mm plywood, the white portion. The black is just the poster board I glued it down to. So yeah, it kind of gives you a little dizzy when you look at it, but it was kind of fun to do. It was pretty delicate. You know, a lot of the pieces are cut pretty close together here, so it was very easy to break. In fact, the first one I made was a little smaller than this, and it did break, in fact, because as you shrink it down, the gaps get a little closer together. So I made it a little bigger on this version.
So is that all one piece?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so you had to be careful not to break the parts.
Yeah, it was very delicate, and when I painted it, had to be very careful. And it was very difficult to get paint in all the little nooks and crannies and stuff too.
So, is this going to hang in your wall in your home, or?
Yeah, my wife would like to. She wants me to hang it up. I'm not sure. I'll see. Yeah.
Yes, we got a question.
Yeah, or it may make you smoke some other stuff a little bit, or start to eat mushrooms or something.
Any questions? Yes.
1, why? 2, yes.
The why? It was just fun to do.
Well, it looks like it would be, yes. And a challenge. So are you experienced with the laser engraver?
Yeah, I've done quite a few things with it, so it's a lot of fun. A lot of things you can, fun things you can do with it. So I was just experimenting a little bit with this.
So did you take a drawing and then scan it in, or did you make a drawing for that?
Yeah, this I actually I Googled psychedelic optical illusions on the internet, and it came out with a few things like this. So yeah, you can find all these kind of things, black and white photos on the internet or pictures. So I scanned it into the laser program, and it came out with the cutting pattern.
Well, sounds like fun. Questions? All right, thank you.
I forgot my name tag, so I brought this.
Greg?
This is a music box I made for my daughter. Her mom and I used to give her music boxes because her birthday's January 4th. And so it was right after Christmas, but she hadn't had a music box in a long time. And so I came up with this crazy idea. I've got some slides if he can get them up. Yeah.
Well,
so
looks like some nice dovetails in that
well,
lattice work.
The glass is microscope slides. And all the parts in the top have been made twice. It probably, here, let me, well, it was working earlier. There we go.
Now it's gone.
And instead of a regular music box player, it's got an MP3 player in it. And it's got, I found it online, and it's just got 2 songs on it. And it's cherry with just a coat of clear lacquer on it, and then some Johnson & Johnson paste wax.
You made this for Richie Cunningham, right?
Which I found out the Johnson's paste wax was no longer made, and it's gotten really, really expensive to get it on eBay. A little can of it's like $66 now. Yeah. Well, the other thing is I bought like 100 microscope slides for $15. I mean, they're not very expensive. And the first time I put it all together, it all fell apart, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I got to measuring the microscope slides, and they vary like 30 thousandths. Well, you can't vary that much in this and get it all to fit together right. So I had to go through and sort for the big ones. So, but. Any questions?
Has she seen it yet?
No, she lives in Texas, so it's going in the mail tomorrow.
Is she watching live?
Oh, I hope not.
Well, the joinery looks fantastic. I don't know if you guys can see that on the video, but I can imagine that was quite a challenge to get the misfit glasses.
And actually, all of these parts on the top have been made at least twice. So to get everything to fit like it was supposed to and get it to work right.
Well, the finish is nice. It's smooth. It looks sharp. Nice job, Greg. Hello, Cannon. beautiful. Beautiful work. So what kind of wood is this now?
Okay, I'm Ken Granger. And the top is quarter sawed sycamore. This part is cherry. The back is book marched cherry. The sides are both cherry. It's a mountain dulcimer for those that don't know. Gosh, I don't know what to tell you about it. It was fun to make. I don't play them.
So how did you space out all the frets?
Okay, for the plans on this, Dave Kratz has made dulcimers forever, I think.
Yes.
And I got plans from him. And it has the spacing for all of the frets on there so that it comes out correctly. And like I say, I owe the plans to him.
So the fret bars are what? Polished stainless? Or?
No, they're nickel silver. The regular frets that you would use on a banjo or a guitar.
Okay.
Tuners are just regular guitar tuners.
And what are these?
The inlays for the different frets are mother of pearl. They're quarter inch mother of pearl. The end pieces here for they're made out of bone, beef bone. Because I wanted some bone because it transfers the vibrations better into the wood. And so I went to a butcher shop and asked him what was the biggest bone he had, and he says, well, it'd be a soup bone. So I said, okay, I'll take a soup bone. And I took it home, boiled it out, then took it out and laid it in the sun and let it bleach out for a week or so, and then sawed out the little pieces that I need. Now, sawing them out, you will get a odor that may not be too pleasant to you. But you just have to suffer through some things.
Well, I'm glad you did that at home instead of the guild.
Yeah. I'll remember that next time. Any questions? Oh, the finish on it is just polyurethane and wax. It sure did. My projects are never timed. I'll usually have 2 or 3 projects going at a time, and I'll work on it a little bit and get tired of it and go on to another project, and maybe a month later or 2 months later I might come back to it. So it wouldn't do much good to try and keep track of it. It's been several years ago. But I've made 3 of these since then. But yeah, his plans are good. He made dulcimers for a long time. He put them in kits and sold them as kits to different people. And Dave does a lot of things, as you know.
Yes. Well, very nice work, Kenneth.
No more questions? Good.
Well, thank you, Ken. Hello, Bob. That looks like it's ready to go to work.
It's not. Grandpa's got a week to finish this.
Oh, okay.
Mine have timelines I have to get done. I got 10 grandkids, and I made the mistake early of starting them all with a birthday or Christmas present, and now they all expect a birthday and Christmas present every year. So I hit definite timelines. This one came straight out of the Wooden Toys book.
Okay.
It's the second grader I've made, but that book gives me ideas to modify other toys, like the P-40 in there. One kid got a P-40, his cousin's got a Mustang, another one got a Spitfire, different airplanes. And talking to the guys tonight, it dawned on me I could take the front of this and modify that, and I've got a combine for a kid's playset.
Oh, yeah.
To go with the tractors and stuff like this. So I have a lot of fun with it. More importantly is I get discovered one up on the other grandparents because they've turned it into a competition. And store-bought electronics aren't matching this.
Ah, okay.
But when grandkids break it, then they have to bring it to grandpa to get it fixed. And then we get to start the lesson of, okay, well, how did this get broke? Well, I threw it at my sister, or, you know. So we get a little lesson with that. But I have more fun making it. To me, the important thing is all the while I'm making it, I'm thinking of that grandkid. So that's the fun with it.
So how'd you make the wheels, those big wheels?
The wheels, they talk about using a
hole saw?
Hole saw to do it, and I have a hard time with that, so I end up taking it and cutting it on a scroll saw and then gluing them together. And then taking the hole saw and putting the kerf in the middle with it. This is all different scrap wood I just had laying around the shop. But I did make sure to make the frame out of oak because that 5-year-old gets rather rough with stuff. So it should survive. Yeah, who knew?
So, what kind of finish?
I just put a little bit of finish on the stuff that's hard to get to, the pine mostly that went into the wheels and the engine. The rest of it I've been using and will use poly on it to finish it. I'm not going to put but maybe 1 or 2 coats because I know he's going to beat it into the ground anyway. So
that's what grandkids do.
That's what they do.
Does mom and dad let the kids play with it?
Yes, sir, they did. It becomes an issue when I made the first couple toys I made 15 years ago. They said, oh, that's a keepsake. And I said, no, they got to play with it. What survives becomes a keepsake. You know, if they don't play with it, then it doesn't mean anything. It's just on the shelf somewhere. But they play with them, and they break them. Yes, sir.
I made a wooden toy for, I only have one grandson. And I packed it in my suitcase to take it out to California where they live. And the TSA guys kept running the bag back and forth through the scanner. And finally they said, well, you have to come explain what this is. And so they take it out and they start playing with it.
They do. Yeah, I made, for Christmas one year, I made all the grandkids guns that shot ping pong balls. And the grandkids were having fun with it. I told them the number 1 rule, you can't shoot each other in the head. As soon as the kids got tired, they put it down. The daughter-in-laws picked it up and proceeded to shoot my sons in the head. So, yeah, you got to be careful what you make.
Uh-huh. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Repeat the question, but the block looks like, the engine block looks like it has pistons in it.
Oh, yeah, it does.
A lot of detail there.
Yeah, a little bit. That's just pine that angled on the table saw and then drilled and took doweling and glued into it to look like pistons. Yes, sir.
Can you get a close-up of that?
I'm sorry?
Can you get a close-up of that?
Turn sideways. Lay it on its side. Lay it on
Lay it on its side. Like that. Close.
Yeah.
See the engine and the carburetor, and
I still got to drill it and put the exhaust stack in it and do some finishing with it, but he'll have fun.
very, very nice. Thanks for bringing and sharing that with us. A little further in between these two stripes.
Yeah, it'll work. It'll work.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
There you go, Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex. So this is the Craftsman Hall tree from Making Authentic Craftsman Furniture. I built this back in January of 2020, so not a recent project, but it's portable compared to some of the other things I've been working on lately.
Kind of explain how you did the grain.
Yeah, so
structure on that.
Yeah, so this is the post is 2 pieces of oak that were riffs on and glued together. So tried to get a nice continuous look to the grain there on the glue seam.
Well, the glue stream is not very noticeable. You maybe with a magnifying glass, but certainly not from 2 or 3 feet away. You couldn't tell that there was a glue seam in
Well,
it.
thank you.
Craig Arnold and I were looking at it over there earlier and kind of, how in the hell did you get the grain like that?
I got lucky.
We knew it wasn't a 4 before.
Well, so I got lucky because I milled up the whole tree.
Okay.
So I harvested this tree out of a neighbor's yard in 2008.
Did they know about it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sure enough, they did. So it was one of my neighbors happened to be my son's preschool teacher, so we even knew each other.
Oh, okay.
So even better. So the tree was kind of big. It was about 4 feet in diameter.
Whoa.
So I ended up having to bucket into quarters just to get it on the mill.
Okay.
So we ended up getting a forklift to lift the quarters onto the trailer that the forklift came on. Don't tell the rental place. So we then drove that clear across the city to get it milled up. Took it back to my place to dry for a few years, all milled up into 8-quarter slabs, riffs on, quarters on. I'm still eating lunch on that after 15 years more.
Okay.
So I still have another 10 boards of that left.
Nice. It was a significant investment in time and effort, I'm sure.
It was. I'm getting to the dregs now. So anyway, swamp white oak. The finish I used Trans-Tint dye and a water-based gel stain, the General's
yes.
water-based gel stain. I would not make those same choices today. I would do it fairly differently based on all of the learning that I received from Craig's finishing class since then. I would not have used the water-based gel stain. Would have used the. I used the water-based, unfortunately. Whatever they call it. Yeah, no. What I used was water-based, and that was where I went wrong. I think the hardest part about this project was the mortising these through mortises for the hangers. If I were to do this project again, I would have not have mortised it all the way through. I would have made separate hangers for each side. But the drawings showed the hangers going all the way through, so that's what I did. They do tend to move. I think I would probably either peg them to keep them straight or keep them in place, or like I said, just like mortise and tenon them on as separate. The braces down here are mortise and tenon as well. Yeah.
Well made.
Thank you.
And some chatoyance in the oak grains. Yes, that'll be a treasure for a long time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Did you do a half lap on the cross on the bottom?
Yes. Yeah. So that was sawed that by hand for the half lap. The post is a mortise and tenon joint into the lap. Yeah. All the bevels I cut out on the bandsaw, just roughed them out on the bandsaw, and then finished them off with a hand plane.
Nice handwork.
Thank you.
They look even. So that same angles on both sides.
That's the important thing.
Yes.
No, that's just how the feet work.
How did you transport this behemoth?
With both hands.
Good answer, Alex.
Anything else? Any other questions? All right. Thank you all.
Thank you, Alex. Hey, Bob.
Hi. So this pales in comparison to that. An email hit my inbox for something for a 3D printed puzzle called the Impossible Puzzle. I don't have a 3D printer. The guy at work did. He made me one. And I cleaned it up, painted it up, gave it away. Didn't like the feel of it. Don't like the feel of the 3D printed plastic. So I said, well, I can probably do this on a scroll saw. So I tried it on a scroll saw and I did it. Simplest puzzle in the world, 4 pieces. I'll pass this around. Let's see who can get it apart. You can start.
Uh-oh.
It's finished with engineer hand oil, meaning I've taken this to work, put it on my file cabinet, and I can never find it. It's always floating around the department somewhere. Apparently it's an adult fidget spinner.
I see.
So frustrates the crap. Frustrates a lot of people.
I'll just cut it in half. Huh?
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah. So what did I learn on this? Well, when you're setting the angle on the scroll saw on something like this, if you set it wrong, it's a very possible puzzle. It just falls right apart. So you got to get the angles right.
Well, the grain is a guide, I guess, on putting it back together again.
Yes, because
the
it is
grain all
hand,
matches.
It is hand cut, so they're not identical like it would be on a 3D printer. So the grain is a good clue. Yeah. Anyway, we'll pass that around if anybody wants. It's kind of fun if you're like adult fidget spinners.
So
but you can try to get it apart.
You sanded it and
yeah, I did. Just a mop sander.
Okay.
No finish, just hand oil.
Okay. Ah, okay. That's a better view.
Yeah. But they do come apart. It does come apart. And I can show anybody who's interested in making one how to get it apart if they care.
I thought maybe they'd have to buy beer or something before you.
That helps.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, it does come apart. I'll show you how later. But,
Can you get those plans maybe to somebody that could
if anybody wants.
make them available?
Yeah. If anybody wants. Let me know, or I can send them to whoever. Anyway, I'll be back here. Make sure I get that back.
Thank you. Hello, Tom.
This is part of a bigger project, so I'm not quite done yet. So these are the 6 little drawers above the pigeonholes, and these are turned in pairs like that. Right. So I did the dovetails when it was a block like this, and then had to find the center and mount it on the faceplate and turn the dish. And then you split it and glue it together. It's an awful lot of work for just a little bitty drawer.
Well, yes.
But there's in the desk itself, there's 20 drawers, so this is only a small portion.
Well, the dovetails look nice. They're well fit. They're obviously hand cut.
Yes, yes. And like I said, 20 drawers times 4, so there's like 4 million dovetails.
Maybe an understatement on that.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
I'm about 90% done with the desk part. And
So
then-
how long is this
and-
desk? Is it?
Well, it's secretary, so it's the desk, and then there's a bookcase that goes up on top. So 4 foot by 2 foot by 8.5 foot tall when it's done.
8.5 foot tall.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
There's 9 of these secretaries, and the tallest one was 9.5 foot tall. And that's in a private collection, and it sold something like $12 million in 1987. All the rest of them are in museums. The one I'm copying is at, can't remember where's the name of it. It's in Rhode Island.
So the shell carving and.
Yep, I'm working on it. Like the only thing I got left is this door in the center. It's called the prospect door. That's the only thing I got left to finish. I just got the hardware, so I got it mounted. So now I need to carve the shell.
And
then I have to find a gorilla to help me get it out of my basement.
Yeah.
Any questions? And that's just cherry with shellac on the fronts.
Kevin had a question.
Repeat the question. Repeat the question.
There
Those
are
are-
several hidden compartments within the bottom, and then there will be in the top.
So lots of hidden drawers.
Lots of good drawers.
So some of you might want to look, but look on YouTube, Papa's Workshop. Tom puts together videos on all his work. I've watched a bunch of them. It's kind of fun watching you.
All the whole build on this is. I
So,
started in August researching this and making plans. So.
He's got several other projects that he's worked on that he has videos on. But what are you on, like 8 or 9 on this one so far, or
Yeah,
maybe more,
something
like that. So I've actually watched them. So
Yeah.
it's not all of them, but some.
You
of
have
them.
to be into this stuff, but
Yeah, no, it's cool to watch it come together. So check out. It's just Google Papa's Workshop on YouTube, and you can check out Tom's videos.
Thank you, Tom. Tom does some really nice work. Extraordinary. Any more? Okay, well, thank you. Hope you enjoyed.
All right, everyone, we're done with that portion. Now we take a quick break, maybe 7 or 8 minute break, and at home you'll get to watch some safety videos, and we'll come back and have a relatively short program on shop fire safety. And there's refreshments and.
Our presentation today will introduce you to the requirements for the safe use of our Holtz-Hair 1265 Supercut panel saw. Hi, my name is Mike Jones, and welcome to another edition of the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild's ongoing series of machine safety videos. Now normally, our videos only cover the safety concerns of our machines. However, we're taking this opportunity to introduce you to how to use the Holtz-Hair Supercut panel saw. This saw is relatively easy and safe to use, but there are specific steps you need to master to use this saw. Remember, if you need assistance or guidance on the use of this machine or any other machine in the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild shop, you should seek out one of the on-duty foremen for assistance. To get started, first make sure the area around the saw is clear of any obstructions or obstacles that might interfere with your work. To the left and rear of the saw, you will find the power switch, which is a red rotary knob, and a compressed air supply valve, also with a red handle. Turn the power switch on and turn the air on. The air is on when you have the handle of the air valve running parallel to the supply line. If either of these steps are left out, that machine will not start. The Holtz-Hair Supercut panel saw is capable of cross-cutting or ripping stock up to 72 inches wide by 12 feet long. This saw is made for handling large 4x8 sheets of plywood. This panel saw eliminates the need to wrestle with a 4x8 sheet of plywood on our crosscut or rip table saws, and the accuracy is every bit as great. To start, determine what is the best way to optimize your rip or crosscut of your sheet goods. If you intend to rip the 8-foot length of your sheet stock, it's best to lay the sheet on its long side on the base track. You also have the ability to rip your stock on the mid-rail supports if you want to rip or crosscut narrower stock. To crosscut stock vertically, you can do so with stock up to 72 inches in size. First, ensure that the orange saw head is oriented for vertical cutting. The blade guard, which is the white portion of the saw assembly, will be vertical. You'll need to set the indexing bar into the stop that is marked at the top of the machine. This positions the saw to cut your vertical cut. Next, set the depth of your cut according to the thickness of your sheet stock. The scale on the side of the adjusting bar has a white scale that allows you to easily set that depth of cut. This also prevents the saw from cutting into the backing rack. Next, set the stop block to the width you intend to cut. Again, there is an easily accessible scale to set the width of your cut and position your stop block. By pulling down on the stop block at the appropriate width, this will lock your stop at your desired width. Pull your sheet stock to the left and set it against this stop block. Next, you will set the cut depth pressure wheel, which also has a scale showing the material thickness that you are cutting. This is adjusted by using the clamp lever at the end of the cut depth pressure wheel. By setting this correctly, this prevents you from cutting too deep and into the backing rack. The two black handles attached to the saw head should be disengaged by pulling out and pushing the saw head to the top of your stock in a position to start your cut. At this point, the white spring-loaded blade guard should only overlap the top of your stock by roughly 1 inch. Turn the saw on. That's the green button on the right. You engage the saw carriage by using the two black carriage handles and push in and pull down once you have the pressure wheel touching the face of your stock. Now pull down on the black handles, moving the carriage all the way down to complete your cut. When the cut is complete, release the pressure on the black handle so that the saw blade retracts away from the material and then turn the saw off. Return the saw head to your start position at the top of the sheet. Wait for the saw blade to stop rotating and then remove your cut-off material. If you have multiple cuts to make at that first dimension, move your stock to the previously set stop and repeat the steps that we just went through. If you have material you want to rip, place your sheet stock on the base track or fold down the mid-backing supports to raise your material to a more comfortable height. When ripping stock on the Holtz Hair Supercut panel saw, the rip cut goes from left to right. So you need to set your stop to the right side of your material. This will ensure that the material is held in place while you perform your rip cut. To orient the saw head for rip cutting, you will need to rotate the saw head. This is done by rotating the saw head counterclockwise to the horizontal position. Secure the locking lever back into that locked position by rotating it to the right. This is the lever with the black knob located under the saw. At this point, you'll need to make sure that the indexing bar is disengaged by lifting the bar on the right side of the saw head. At that top rail, you see the arrows indicating the détentes for that indexing bar. That bar will only lock down at those locations marked by an arrow. This indexing bar has to be released to do a horizontal rip cut. You will need to position the saw head at the proper point to make your rip cut. Again, using the vertical orange scale on the machine to set the width of your rip cut. Make sure that the 3-inch locking knob is turned to the right to lock the saw in place. This also engages the pneumatically controlled backing rack, and it will position itself so that the saw blade does not cut into the backing rack. What that does is that puts the blade in between the back rails and locks the saw in vertically. Turn the saw on with the green button on the right. Using the two black handles on the saw carriage, push in and engage the blade into your stock and push the assembly to the right. As you make your cut, be aware when you have cut approximately halfway into your total length of cut, insert a shim or a wedge in the already completed kerf. This helps support your material so that you can complete your rip cut and not pinch the blade and possibly damage your stock. Disengage the saw carriage and turn off the power with the red button. Return the saw carriage to the start position at the left side of the sheet. When the saw blade has stopped rotating, remove your cutoff piece. This is Mike Jones for the Kansas City Woodworkers Guild. Thank you for watching.
Exposing other wood fibers.
All right, everyone, we're going to get over to our program. We're going to come on down. We'll have a discussion about fire safety. Matt, if you're around, come on up. Oh, Matt's right here.
I'm around.
Without further ado, we'll hand it over to Matt. Thanks, Matt.
I think I'm mic'd up here, yes. Okay, this is going to be a fairly quick discussion. What happened this evening, I was just getting ready to go out to the car, just had supper, and I got a call from the fire department, and they apologized. They can't make it tonight. So, but the issue that we wanted to talk about really is very important. Guys, come on. The issue is really pretty important. And you got a bag full of sawdust in your basement, in your house, and you don't have a walkout. What do? And first of all, how did the fire even get started? Now, I wasn't there at his house when the fire started, but in my head, I'm thinking, and Chuck would probably know a lot more about it than I do since he takes care of all the equipment. I'm guessing there's a couple of things that could have gone wrong. One was the blade was not sharp enough so that it was burning the wood, or the blade had resin on it, because we see that happen over here all the time. Guys will bring in this construction grade lumber. I don't know what they're making out of it, but that stuff is full of resin and it gums up the blades. And then you go back there with a piece of cherry or a piece of hard maple, you put it on there, and boy, it just blackens it. So that black means that you've heated that wood up, and if those little particles of heated wood get sucked up by your system, they get pulled into your dust collection system. Now you've got oxygen, you've got heat, and you've got fuel. That's everything you need for a fire. Again, you do that if your workshop is in the basement of your house and you don't have a walkout and you don't have proper fire extinguishers, you're kind of screwed. I mean, the best thing you could do maybe, I'm sure the fire department would probably say, call 911 and get the hell out of there. I'm a guy, I ain't gonna do that. I'm going to do the best I can in order to put the fire out because I don't want to lose my whole house. And so, but I also know as a forester, I've started lots of fires. I mean, that's part of my job, starting fires. And I've worked on a lot of fires. And I know doggone well it only takes about 1 or 2 breaths of smoke and you're down. And so if you're in your cellar at home and you're in your basement at home and you get a puff or two of smoke and you go down, that's it. That's all there is to it. And you not only lose the house, but you also lose yourself. And hopefully you don't take out your pets, or you don't take out your wife, or any other family members in the thing. So, I mean, that's about it that I know as far as for the program. I don't know anything about getting the right fire extinguishers. Now, one thing I was offered tonight was there are these blankets, these fiberglass blankets. They're really inexpensive, far less expensive and more available than the asbestos blankets we used to have, or the wool blankets we used to have in college. Those work. Asbestos will definitely, you throw asbestos on a fire in the kitchen, it'll definitely put it out. It'll smother it. Wool, a good heavy wool blanket made out of the good heavy rug wool type of stuff, you throw it on a kitchen fire and it will smother it really pretty quickly. Most of us probably, it's more likely we would have a kitchen fire than a fire in a dust collection system, but it still all comes down to the same thing. You got a fire burning in your house, you got to put it out. Fire extinguishers, what's the chance you're going to have a fire in your house? I've had fire extinguishers in my house for 40 years. Literally for 40 years. I doubt that any of them work. I don't go and replace them every year. I don't replace them every other year. I mean, I might just as well take it and beat the fire out with it. Okay. I might as well beat the fire down with it because that's about as effective as it's going to be. But I do like the idea of these blankets. And I think, what do they cost? $24 like that for a couple of blankets, 3 feet square. Oh, okay, great. There you go. I can't see what it is there for sure, but it's not a bad idea to get some of these blankets.
So
even if you don't have, I don't have a workshop at home. Go ahead.
Matt.
Yes, Chris?
This one says 2-pack fire blankets 40-inch by 40-inch for $29.99. It was the first one suggested Amazon choice on Amazon.
There you go. Even if you don't have a workshop at home. I do not have a workshop at home. This is my workshop right here. But I do have a kitchen, and we do sometimes use oil for cooking. We've never had a fire, but I have seen fires at powwows and stuff like that. You get a good old Indian taco going, and they got all that oil in the cooker going, and once in a while those things catch fire. And you better hope somebody has a cover to put it out or has a good blanket to throw over it. And in both cases that I've seen it, both at work one time and at a powwow at a Pendleton Roundup, they did have ways to put the fire out. But if you don't, boy, it's embarrassing as hell. At the powwow, the fire got far enough that the canopy that was overhead burned. And that is embarrassing. And you don't sell very many Indian tacos after that. Not until you get everything all cleaned up. And that's not to make fun of what they did. It's just, stuff happens, and the same thing could just as easily happen at home. So I highly recommend, for in the way of fire safety, that consider getting some blankets. I think I'd even go as far as relying on the blankets and forget about the fire extinguisher. Now, I did talk to our local fire department in Leavenworth, and they said what you could do is you have a bib in the house, and you have one of those flexible hoses, that expand. It doesn't take very much. You can take 2 of those hoses, and I hook that up. I can go anywhere in my entire house. And you get one of those garden sprayers that puts it on really fine mist. And if you catch it early enough, you can knock down a fire really quickly like that. It's better than having the overhead sprinklers, because the overhead sprinklers, when they go off, they take out the entire house. You get a lot of water damage. You're going to still get a lot of water damage with a hose in your house, but at least you're going to localize it. But you're never going to use that water putting out a kitchen fire that's oil fire. You're just going to make it worse. Again, you go back to the blankets. And I just really like the idea so much better than using the water or using a fire extinguisher. I mean, yes, sir?
I bought several years ago a couple of pretty good fire extinguishers.
There you go.
Several years ago, I bought a couple of pretty good fire extinguishers, and they can be recharged, or at least, checked out if they need the recharge. So
That's good to
rather
know.
than buying a cheapo one, do yourself a favor, and if you're going to go that route, get a good one.
Okay, that always makes sense. It's better to cry once than having to cry more than once. You cry once the first time you bought the most expensive one. I agree with you there. I still like the idea of the blankets. I mean, you can keep several blankets around the house and they never wear out. You just throw it, gotta keep right down the center. Right here, that's what these 2 lines are for. Okay, okay, I never knew that. Okay, any other comments or questions? Any other suggestions? Yes, sir. Get him the. Oh, you got. Let's
I
have
guess
them first.
whenever you have a fire, it's PASS, and you're supposed to pull a pin, aim it, slowly pass it back and forth to the base of the fire.
That's how you use a fire extinguisher.
That's correct.
Right.
Well, he stole half my thunder there. Okay. About 20 years ago, I took a fire safety course, and the fire inspector for our city taught us how, and we actually used, each one of us actually got to put out a small fire. It was a controlled fire in a pit outside. So a month ago, I got to put that to actual use in my house. So, yeah, listen up. Had nothing to do with the shop down below. Had to do with the fireplace. Neighbor knocks on the door, says, I think you got a flue fire. You got stuff coming out the top of your chimney. You want to come see? I looked at him and said, no. I didn't want to go out and see the damn thing. So I went out and looked down. So I ran inside. Fire extinguisher kept right next to the fireplace. Wife didn't think much of that. Suddenly she liked the idea. You also ran down to the shop and got the second fire extinguisher when the first one wasn't enough. You mentioned types. ABC. A for wood, paper. Wood. G. Woodworking. Okay. Enough about that. B. Electrical. I do my own electrical. I hook up whatever. So far, that hasn't backfired. C. Chemicals. Oh, we don't do chemicals? You said you got a kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Anybody do any staining? Use oils, gels, okay, lacquers, so forth. Yeah, okay, you got chemicals. I have no idea what's in your wife's cosmetics case. I won't go there about chemicals. This gentleman took my biggest thunder. The inspector for the fire department where I live said, all you got to do, squeeze the handle, aim, do it at the base. Not up or do it at the base. Then he went on to say the first thing this man said, pull the damn pin. He was the fire inspector. He gets to walk through what's left after the fires. He has seen many a fire extinguisher in the middle of the ashes with the handle bent. Joe's got adrenaline. He squeezed that handle so hard it bent, but the fire extinguisher didn't come on. Joe didn't pull the pin. Pull the pin, you won't have to bend the handle. So, you want to pull the pin in advance? That's great. As long as you don't have a 5-year-old running around the house, you're probably safe. Okay. Do it at the base. Keep doing it. Have a couple of them. Blankets, great idea. I replaced my fire extinguisher. I took them to the fire department and said, do you recharge? The battalion chief himself looked at him and said, for this size, you're better off just buying a new one. That's going to cost you more to recharge, and you wouldn't get as much anyway. Okay. So when you actually blow the thing out, I'm sitting there thinking, gee, do I need a mask? I mean, I got masks all over because of COVID. Well, I'm putting out the fire right now. I'll worry about the mask later. Now, it didn't bother me any. Of course, I'm spraying it into the fireplace, and it's going up the chimney. Neighbor could see come out the top of the chimney. He was out on his deck. That's how he saw it in the first place, thank goodness. Next day, I called chimney sweep, about 23 years late. He comes out. I don't say anything about the fire. He's got this nice tablet, and he sticks it down in and says, looks like you had a flue fire. Yeah. When's the last time you had this cleaned? Oh, well, I've lived here 25 years. So he goes up, top side, checks, no damage. I don't have to replace the chimney. You can guess what replacing the chimney would be involved, but he found a few other things that he took care of and so forth, so it didn't cost much. Chimney sweeping cost me $195. I feel a whole lot better. That's not very expensive. What does your house cost? Yeah. More than that? Yeah. Okay. Not so much. Okay. So pull the pin, aim at the bottom. ABC. I think it'd probably be hard to find one that's not ABC nowadays. There's also a D. I think that's if you're an industrial something or other. I don't have an industrial house. So thanks for your time. It does actually happen. I feel lucky. Cliff.
Greg, I've been trying to get rid of old fire extinguishers that are pooped out. I never used them. They were the cheap kind. They weren't very big. I can't find any way to recycle or do anything with it.
The battalion chief told me I could just throw them in the trash. I asked him about that. He said you don't need to worry about recycle or anything.
I hate
Now, he's
that.
only the battalion chief. You know, it could be somebody else. But
Okay, that's what I'll do.
There's some metals they can't recycle.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'll bet, just like I do, I'll bet you all have probably some rubbing alcohol or some denatured alcohol at home. Maybe some turpentine. Oh, you got one back here.
Oh, just real quick, where is the fire extinguisher here?
There's several of them. Pull right back here.
Is there other ones too?
Next to the kitchen room. There's a sign that says there's one there. Yep, there's one in there.
Okay.
Yeah, so I bet you that virtually everyone, if you're doing any woodworking at home at all, you probably have alcohol, you probably have something like a turpentine or something like those are flammable liquids. So if a fire does get away from you just a little bit, boy, those things are going to go up. I mean, you really better get the heck out of the house.
one other thing, real fire. This is when I lived in another state. I was a banker. One day, a fellow who's very sharp comes by my desk, moving quickly. Says, "Where's the fire extinguisher?" I said, "Stairwell," which was just right there. He goes on by. 30 seconds later, he walks past the other way. He's walking rather quickly. He's carrying the fire extinguisher. I thought, this is interesting, so I follow around. Our chief lending officer smoked cigars. Wastebasket. He was bright enough to pick the wastebasket up and carry it out. We didn't need a door from the wastebasket, easy to carry. Plastic wastebasket. Plastic melts people. So there's a couple of guys looking at globs of plastic, and they're walking around. Sorry, Mike.
Between the lines.
They're walking around doing this, and the guy's spraying. But the point here is, please look at how the fire extinguisher is held to the wall. Now, you guys make things. You probably understand what cam over center lock is. This guy was a lending officer. Subsequently, he became an attorney. Cam over center was too much for him. He pulled the thing right off the wall, right out of the... When he walks by my desk, there's screws, bracket, screws through the bracket, plaster wood or plasterboard dust on the screws. Practice with getting it off of the wall, off of the bracket.
Mentioned about cutting aluminum with your bandsaw or whatever. Don't hook up your dust collection.
That's a good point. Yeah, if you're going to be cutting any, and hopefully no one's cutting any metal in here. Yeah, don't cut any metal and then have that get hooked up to your dust collection. And if it gets hot, it's going to go to your dust, ignite it. And as I remember last time, he found out when you open up a bag and all of a sudden you introduce a lot of oxygen to that smoldering dust there, you're going to get a flare up. Takes takes some of your skin off, takes some of your hair off your face, if you survive it. I don't have too much more to say about it. I apologize. Go ahead.
Several years ago at my business, we use solvents for cleaning our equipment. The guys put the rags just in a pile, spontaneous combustion. So just again, one more thing: if you're using them, air them out. Don't stack them together.
That's great. You all heard that. It depends on what chemicals you're using, but if you're using rags, you got oils and stuff like that, you can get spontaneous combustion on it. As far as this shop is concerned, as a foreman, I walk around and occasionally I always look at the blades, but occasionally I'll find some blades that are really gummed up. If you do find that, either talk to a foreman or if you figure out how to do it yourself, take the blade off, go to the kitchen, put it in that round plastic bucket bottom, put some of that spray on there on the brush, clean that blade off. It is so extremely easy to do. Clean that blade off, wipe it off, and reinstall it on the saw. Because those, first of all, if you're the person at the saw and you're trying to cut some really good quality lumber with the saw blade that's all gummed up, you're just going to screw it all up. So you might as well clean it up for yourself, but you could also clean it up for the rest of the people. And if you're one of the people that comes in with all of the construction grade lumber and you're working on it, please clean up those blades when you're finished. Makes it easier for everyone else to have a nice blade on the table saw. Any other?
Matt, let's have a show of hands of how many people actually had a fire, small or otherwise, in their shop.
Okay, the question was, a show of hands, how many people have ever had a fire at their shop? Oh my God, I didn't. Wow, that's amazing. At least five people here that are still remaining in the six. At least 6 people that are still remaining here. That's impressive. Obviously, you all survived, but you lost your house, didn't you, Mike? Yeah. See, that gets pricey. Oh, and I'm going to finish it up here. I remembered one more speaker that we're going to have. I was at the Wood Turners last night. They had a guy from Franklin Glue, and the unfortunate part is he went like an hour and a half, and he had another half an hour's worth of stuff to go. I got to figure out somehow to keep him down to about an hour presentation, but he brought samples. And I know everybody likes to get free glue samples. And the guy, he's a chemist, he's really knowledgeable. So that's another program to look forward to. I just got to figure out a way to keep him down to about an hour or so. So that's about it for tonight.
Thank you. One other suggestion. For those that have
Watch it cord.
You were talking about fire blankets. For those that do welding and have a welder's blanket, you can also use those for dual purpose to throw over stuff.
Okay, good.
Harbor Freight, cheap.
Okay, thank you all for coming tonight. Oh, here's Cal. Oh, man, I finally get a cup. I finally get a mug. Wow.
I just wanted to say thank you to Matt. He had the fire department, when people don't show, he just he took the ball and ran with it, and we appreciate that. Sometimes things happen, and the only way to get this is to do a presentation, so now you get your mug shot. So thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Everyone have a great night. Watch your step going down the stairs. Help clean up, as always. I think some of us might go down to Tower Tavern and have a beverage. Some of that alcohol you're talking about from a safety hazard, of course. Have a great night, everyone.
I don't know. You don't have to worry now. Fixed. I wasn't in it tonight.
A special thank you to our guest today, to the Guild's Leadership Committee, and to all of our. For more information about the Guild, upcoming classes, and events, please visit our website kcwg.org. You can also find us on social media by searching for Kansas City Woodworkers Guild. And remember to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications.